Greetings everyone. In this video we'll be looking at NCEA Level 1 Mathematics Common Assessment Task Algebra. As you're aware that there are different types of factorization, and in this video I'll be mainly focusing on factorizing quadratic expression, trinomials. If you haven't already, please check out my previous videos in which I've already done factorizing by using common factor method and also a difference of two squares. In this video we'll be looking at factorizing quadratic expressions. I'm quickly going to recap on expanding double brackets, and I've already done this in detail in my previous video. If you haven't already, please do check that one out. So here's what happens when we expand double brackets. If I multiply x times x, I will get x squared. Then x times 2 is positive 2x, 3 times x is positive 3x, and 3 times 2 is positive 6. And then we collect like terms and simplify, and we get x squared plus 5x plus 6. And you would notice that there is a pattern. And if you look at the middle term, the coefficient of x, which is positive 5 in this case, is the sum of the two numbers in the brackets 3 and 2. So if I add 3 and 2, I will get the middle term. And the constant, which is 6, 6 is given by the product of the two numbers in the brackets. So in general, we can say that if I've got x plus a and x plus b, if I want to expand this using FOIL method, so x times x will give me x squared, x times b will give me positive bx, likewise a times x will give me positive ax, and a times b will give me plus ab. And in this case, if you look at the middle term with the coefficient of x, if I quickly factor x out, I will get x squared plus a plus b into x, and then plus ab. Now if we look at this, the middle term is the sum of the two terms in the bracket there, and the constant, which is at the end, is the product of the two terms in the bracket. So a times b is ab over there, as you can see. So using this logic, we can now factorize the given algebraic expressions. So we'll quickly look at the steps involved in factorizing trinomials in the form x squared plus bx plus c. So what you need to do is you list all the factors of the constant that's there, and then you look at the coefficient of the middle term, which is b in this case, including its sign, and you need the pair of factors where the sum or difference of the two factors is the middle term b, and then we can place those two factors as x plus minus the first factor and then the second factor there. So let's look at the example. Factorize x squared minus 8x plus 15. So what you need to do is list all the factors of 15. So in this case they are 1 and 15, because 1 times 15 will give me positive 15, and 3 times 5 is also 15. And then I have to look for two factors that will multiply to 15, and in this case I've got these factors here that are multiplying to 15, but then they need to add to the middle term, and middle term is minus 8 in this case. And if I look at 3 and 5, I know if I add 3 and 5 I will get positive 8, but they do not add to the middle term negative 8. So we just need to modify our factors a little bit. So recall that negative times negative gives you a positive. So two negative numbers when we multiply gives you a positive, and this is the one that gives you a product 15. So in this case both of these factors must be negative, so that if I go negative 3 times negative 5, I will be able to get positive 15. And if I'm adding negative 3 and negative 5, I will be able to get the middle term, which is minus 8. So it meets the two conditions there. Then we just put these in the brackets with the variable x, and then our final answer will read x squared minus 8x plus 15 in factored form is x minus 3 into x minus 5. Now we can quickly check this. So if I multiply negative 3 times negative 5, I should get positive 15. And if I'm adding negative 3 with negative 5, I should get the middle term. So that's a quick way of checking whether your factors are placed correctly. Factorize x squared plus 12x minus 28. So we'll stick to the procedure. Find the factors of 28. In this case, we've got 1 in 28, 2 times 14 is also 28, and 7 times 4 is also 28. So we're looking for two factors that multiply to negative 28, and it adds to the middle term positive 12. So in this case, 2 and 14 looks promising, but they do not multiply to negative 28, because 2 times 14 is positive 28. So we need to make one of these factors negative, so that negative times positive will give you overall negative result. So in this case, you have to decide which one. The goal is to get the overall sum positive 12. So the only way we can achieve that is if I put negative 2 and 14 instead of 2 and negative 14, because if I went 2 and negative 14, I will get negative 12. So these add to 12, and also using multiplication of these two numbers, we end up with negative 28. So what we need to do then is put these factors in brackets with variable x. So the final answer is x minus 2 into x plus 14. Now quickly check this. Negative 2 times 14 is negative 28, and negative 2 plus 14 is positive 12. So this suggests that the answer is correct. Moving on, example number 3, factorize x squared minus 5x minus 24. Again, we find the factors of 24, and we are looking for two numbers that add to middle term negative 5 and multiplies to negative 24. So the factors are 1 and 24 and so forth. So in this case, we need to find the pair where the sum or the difference is middle number 5. And you can see that if I find the difference between 3 and 8, I will get negative 5. So those are the factors there, and then we have to choose one negative, because negative times positive will give you overall negative 24. So 3 and 8 looks promising in this case. So in this case, 3 and negative 8 will add to the middle term negative 5, and also they will multiply to the constant, which is negative 24. So we know that these are the two factors. Then we put them in brackets with variable x. So our final answer is x plus 3 into x minus 8. Now we can quickly check this. 3 times negative 8 is negative 24, and 3 take away 8 is minus 5. That means we have correctly factorized. Now another thing, I could have written x minus 8 then x plus 3. It does not matter, because so a times b will be same as b times a. So if I'm looking at the next one here, it says x squared minus 13x plus 30. Again, I'm putting plus to get the middle term, times to get the constant. So two numbers that adds to give you a middle term of negative 30 and multiplies to positive 30. So all the factors there. So you just look for a pair where the sum or the difference is the middle term, 13. So 10 and 3 will give you 13. So in this case, 3 and 10 looks promising. And then if I multiply 3 and 10, I will get positive 30. And I need to add to the middle term of negative 13. So in this case, negative 3 and negative 10 will meet these two criteria. So this factorizes into x minus 3 into x minus 10. So quickly check this always. So minus 3 times minus 10 is positive 30, and negative 3 plus negative 10 is negative 13. And recalling the fact that negative times negative is positive. Now we'll look at a little bit harder problem here. Now in this case, it says factorize 3x squared minus 6x plus 3. So what we normally do is, if the coefficient of x squared is anything but 1, then the first thing you need to look for is see if there is a common factor. So always look for the coefficient of x squared. In this case is 3, it's not 1. So in this case, you should try and look for a highest common factor and see if there are any. And in this case, I can see that 3 is the common factor, because 3 can go into 6 as well as positive 3. So I will need to factor this out first. So what that then becomes is 3 into x squared, because I've got 3x squared as my first term. So 3 times x squared will give me the first term, minus 3 times 2x will give me minus 6x, and 3 times 1 will give me positive 3. 3 has been factored out, so now that leaves us with a trinomial inside the bracket. So I need to find a pair whose product is positive 1, and in this case the options are 1 times 1 will give you a positive 1, but they need to also add to a negative 2, and in this case if I add 1 plus 1 I only get positive 2. So you would have guessed it, we know that negative times negative is positive, so I can clearly change these factors to negative numbers. Now once I change those to negative numbers, then if I'm adding negative 1 plus negative 1, I will be able to get negative 2 back. So that means these are my factors. So now I will put minus 1 and minus 1 in the brackets with variable x, and also I will leave 3 outside the bracket because that's part of the solution. So 3x squared minus 6x plus 3 will be factorized as 3 into x minus 1 into x minus 1, and I know that x minus 1 is repeated. I can rewrite that as 3 into x minus 1 whole thing squared. This is not required, but we can clearly see that it's repeated, so I can put that as a square. I would suggest if you could pause the video and try and do these yourself and see if your answer matches with this one. Hope this helps. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.